Hey, Steven. It's Dave. Landau. Third chair. I'm really sorry that I ate your last Built Bar. I have self-control issues with food and everything else. I wrote you a song. I hope you like it. I'm just a little bit plump in the middle. Ate the last Built Bar hot off the griddle. Sweet and yummy cocoa, junk food, a methadone. Deep fried banana cream pie, mouthful of delicious chocolate mint. Ooey gooey, candy coated fingerprints. Low net carbs, so technically still keto. Sweet, sweet marshmallow. Got 'em from Built Bar Shop, so full my tummy's gonna pop. Ate too much, it's a lot. In your mouth, something it's not. Protein, I'm so buff, and I just can't get enough. Dum-dee-dum, dum-dee-dum, sweet marshmallow. Don't leave me alone with Built Bar, Steven. Don't leave me alone with desserts. Don't leave me alone with desserts. Shouldn't have done that. It's on you.
That's an I can't contain my excitement sip, because today's a good day. Well, okay, it's a bad day because the guy who leaked it, or girl, or Z, is a dick. But
yeah,
what was leaked is big news. Of course, I'm talking about Roe v. Wade and the alleged, but it seems like Supreme Court ruling on that. That's going to be coming down the pike. Look, this is something where a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are missing some key points, that this is Roe v. Wade has been bad law. So I want to make sure that I know we have some of you right now, if you're watching or you're listening on audio on Apple. It used to be iTunes when I was your age, or on Android or on Spotify, that you may be pro-abortion, pro-choice, to whatever capacity you believe that you are. That's not necessarily what we're talking about today. Of course, I am pro-life. I make, look, I make my biases known as apparently as I can. But my question to you is this. Before we get to the law of it, we are going to show some clips here today from the meltdown and give you there's some exclusive updates here. We may know who the leaker is as this comes in. It's 9:21 Central God's time, so 10:21 Eastern. We may be finding out more and more about who leaked this. Spoiler alert, definitely a liberal. This is an intimidation tactic. But before we get to that, stroke. Before we get to that, my question to you is, why do you think that the left, why do you think when you see all these feminists, why do you think they're so vehemently these people killing babies? And I mean, actually wanting to abort babies up until and including birth. These people, those are the people I'm talking about. That's not most of the country. I understand that. And most of the country is not pro-life to the extent of, not allowing for exceptions of incest and rape. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about, if you look at the reaction today from the mainstream left, what other reason can you have other than people shouting their abortion and talking about Colorado, for example, Virginia, these laws, and praising them outside of, honestly, evil? Evil. Because we're at a point where, look, people know it's a baby if it's 32 weeks, if it's 34 weeks. There's no denying that. There's no scientific argument at that point. And they say, well, it should be taxpayer-funded abortion on demand, period. That's why we're here. What's happening today, leftists who happen to be watching, Media Matters, hello, is your fault. This is the pendulum swinging. You've reached too far. And my question is, I want to know why. It's hard for me to get into your mind. I mean, this isn't The Cell. So that being said, since we are discussing something that has been leaked and YouTube is selective on what kind of investigative journalism is allowed, if this is not on YouTube, you don't see us on YouTube, you can go to Rumble or Mug Club. Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We're available there. Nothing would make me more happy. Nothing would thrill me more greatly than for you to go to Rumble or Mug Club and to shoot you. So, we'll get to that in a second. A lot of info today. It's mainly going to be on the Supreme Court and also the history of Roe v. Wade and why RBG was against the ruling of Roe v. Wade. But first, let's introduce, of course, Gerald A. is with child. Gerald B., how are you, sir? Oh, he's surprised in the leak. He is dumbfounded. He is stunned to find out that Alito is not amongst his blow-up brethren.
Stunning.
And you know him, you love him, at Landau Dave, the quickest man on his feet. And he's doing some dates here this weekend in Springfield, Missouri, Lincoln, Nebraska. Go to loudwithcrowder.com/tour to buy tickets. Dave Landau, how are you?
Ahoy, good. How about you, sir?
I'm doing well.
I did my own makeup. We secretly wear that on this show, and boy, can you tell. All right, go on.
Actually, no, you look rosy.
Do I?
Yeah.
Hey, then I don't wear makeup.
No, he doesn't wear makeup.
What am I? What am I? One of them?
Yeah. He just wakes up like this. He doesn't need to put on his face.
I look like a cop.
Yeah.
All right, anyway.
Or in the Taking Back Sunday parody that's coming down the pike, someone said you looked like emo Hitler.
Well, yeah, I can see. Yeah, the full mustache one.
Yeah.
He's like, not the handlebar.
Well, because it was just coming in.
Handlebar Hitler would be good instead of the toothbrush mustache.
It's a bold choice, the mustache. Check your mug, by the way, because it does smell a little bit in the studio, so just check it. We had an incident here yesterday.
Yet.
It's Amber Heard. She's been creating copycat poopers.
I'd like to say, too, I think it's not a man's place to talk about abortion until Apple decided to make the pregnant man emoji.
Yes.
So that's what I enjoy, is that the woke left is like, you can't talk about it,
right.
But also men can get pregnant. It's like, you really ruined yourself.
Right,
there, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like Title IX, sure, with dicks.
Yes.
All right. The rules have changed. Also, I would recommend if you have kids watching with you today, it's not a trigger warning. This is a strong PG-13 because we will be discussing the dismemberment and tube sucking of babies. Just to be clear, so it's not necessarily age appropriate. I'm not a Florida public school teacher.
No.
So before we get to that, of course, we know the big news Supreme Court. It has some, and let me give you. It has the worst among us. Middle-aged liberal women upset.
Yeah, well, how about we all just get angry? Get angry. Are you guys angry? Are you angry? We're gonna sit here and just.
Don't be like that with me. I'm not a church mouse. Don't be like that with me.
Just like you do.
What the fuck?
Shut the fuck up!
You're mad. I'm a woman, and I am not a goddamn church mouse.
Oh, at least a church mouse would be quiet.
Yeah.
Decision.
Coke and seed, man. Coke and seed. You lost, baby killer. Woo! Nothing going on in your life?
Well, not a creature was stirring, not even a church bitch.
Yeah.
She really thought that church mouse, and she's like, I know, I'm going to say I'm not a church mouse. Yeah. And then when someone came back with something she wasn't ready for, she's like, I am not a church mouse!
It's also just an outdated, stupid thing to say. Yeah. Where everybody's like, you just lost touch years ago.
Yeah. No.
This is why you're angry and no one's touched you in years.
You're not a church mouse, you're a satanic temple shrew.
There's just the guy in the salmon shirt who's like, I'm a straight white guy who's here to settle this. It's like, stay home.
Yeah.
Are you angry
what a
yet?
waste of a night.
I know.
Yeah. Are you upset? Yeah, they're upset. It's all they do.
I would like to express being upset, but that might exhibit toxic masculinity. So I will let the raging Karen who says she's not a church mouse do my speaking for me. Yeah. But do you have anything else other than she's going with church mouse?
Okay, great. Can't believe she pulled that one out.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means either.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Is there an epidemic of mice in church? I'm just not...
I think she was fighting with somebody else that was on her side.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't really have a side. They're just psychotic and mad at everyone and everything.
We're on the same side.
Not a church. And by the way, speaking of mice, looking at that, she was wearing those white pants. Seems like someone cut off her tail with a carving knife. So, hey, Built Bar.
What?
.com. We just said, we had the intro there. By the way, name that film reference for people who don't know. They are delicious. It's
the end of Moneyball.
Built.com. You just ruined it.
Oh.
Oh.
It was a game.
That's right.
All right. Built.com, and you enter in the promo code Crowder15. You'll get 15. You're like my mom.
I completely forgot him.
My mom, when she tells jokes, she tells the punchline first because she's concerned people will stop listening.
It wasn't Moneyball.
No.
Is that better?
That's fine.
Did I fix the problem?
Threw him off the scent. Built.com, Crowder15. Look, I've said this. No one needs like protein bars, but they are delicious. It really has. It's like, you put it really well. It's like junk food methadone. It really does sort of, it's a tiered process.
Yeah, because you're trying to wean yourself off of the bad stuff.
Yeah. It's like chocolate Suboxone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very well put.
Yes, but then, but don't become an addict. You don't want to, you replace a bad habit with a good habit. That's what I've used Built Bar for, and I'm down since the surgery about 35 pounds.
That's what you have to do, rewire the brain to do something positive to replace the negative.
Right.
And my brain it's more like a piston engine where it's like, oh, problem, this one goes down, another one's pop.
Right.
It's like whack-a-mole,
Yeah,
and none of them go away all the time.
Mine's more like a turbine in that it's not quite a jet. But, I can fly a little lower, so there's some versatility. There's one person there with an FA pilot. Like, oh, yeah, that's good. I like this. I like the pilot-themed humor.
I have a small plane. I enjoy it.
Yep. All right. So, look, the Supreme Court. This is what's in the news today. But I think that some people are missing some key details here. And when people say find common ground, I don't believe you can find common ground on a lie. I've talked about this before. But you can find common ground on agreeing to the terms. I mean, people have done that in war, for crying out loud. So agreeing to the terms as far as what constitutes good law, this is where you had someone like Ruth Bader Ginsburg who was able to agree with people like Alito on at least the legal premise of Roe v. Wade. This is why we are where we are. Now, there's been a leak this morning. We have a hunch as to who the leaker is. But according to a draft majority opinion, this was obtained by Politico, they are now voting to strike down Roe v. Wade.
Now, I have a question. Is there punishment for the leaker? Because it seems between the FBI, CIA, there's a lot going on in the government that should not be out and available to the public the way that it's been.
They would, but they're too busy prosecuting the QAnon shaman.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yes, I forgot. That son of a gun.
Yeah. Also, downloading hardcore pedophile pornography. The CIA.
It's research.
Yes, it's research.
Simply research. The Pete Townsend defense.
Yes. The Daniel Day-Lewis method pornographing. So the draft decision, just for people who don't know, it comes from Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization. Now, this was a case in Mississippi. There's a 15-week ban. Extremists. 15-week ban, and so there was an organization that lobbied for it, and so obviously they were sued, and they said, hey, you lobbied for this, and now you're infringing my rights. This got then, it went up to the Supreme Court. Now, the majority opinion, this is according to the leak, which we have every reason to believe, not because it comes from Politico, of course not, but because it's been confirmed also by other sources. The majority opinion, written by Justice Alito, wrote, we hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled. It is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. Now, what does that mean? We'll talk about this more. This means that it just goes to the states. So, by the way, the states that have these crazy radical abortion laws, no, I'm not talking about, viability bans like in places like Texas. I'm talking about places that allow abortions up until 8-9 months. Right now, that's not going to be affected. This is going to kick it to the states. So guess what? You might have to cross state lines in your Datsun.
Well, yeah, they sort of reacted immediately as if it had all been taken away, and that's not the case. It's kind of like the Twitter thing. Mm-hmm. Immediately, you think you know the outcome, and before researching any of it, you just freak out.
Yes, you freak out because you're not a church mouse.
Right, and you'll still be able to get abortions, except Tom Selleck will be the spokesperson, and they'll be called reverse carriages.
Yes. Listen, this isn't my first rodeo. I've used stirrups before.
Yes. I wouldn't lie to you about taking your baby.
This is not an attempt to steal your baby. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Tom Selleck.
He's just taking it out of the crib.
Yeah.
It's mine.
Yeah.
Reverse.
Magnum primary physician. Well, primary physician, anyway. Okay.
Anyway.
Alito also noted...
an appropriate joke. Enjoy.
Yeah. He noted that, look, the right to an abortion, this is the thing. We'll talk about Roe v. Wade. It's nowhere in the Constitution. This is one of those issues, too, I've talked about in the past where people go, separation of church and state, separation of church and state. Look, I understand the principle, and so it's sort of become a soundbite, one that Oprah would like. But It's not in the Constitution. And then people take a soundbite that isn't in the Constitution and they misinterpret it. You're talking about the First Amendment. Just the phrase separation of church and state doesn't appear. Now, what the idea of the First Amendment expresses is, of course, they left the Church of England, that the government would be out of the church running business. It never was intended to prevent, for example, elected representatives from expressing their faith. It prevents them from enforcing their faith, and particularly a state denomination. We've talked about this. You can look at letter I believe was written from Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptists. So there's historical precedent. Not only do you have the Constitution, but you have supporting documents, and there are a lot of them. The same with the Second Amendment. Now, when the left says that there's a constitutional right to abortion, not only is it not in the Constitution, there's nothing even supporting that, and that's not why Roe v. Wade exists. So let me read again. Alito, he said, we hold that Roe v. Wade in case must be overruled. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right, meaning the right to abortion itself, is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision. And it should be noted that even though he is pro-life, Justice Alito is ironically a pimp. Justice Alito gets his.
Now, stop the music at me.
Yeah, I know. It was really awkward.
Now I'm just shaking. No song.
It's like in Dirty Work when he takes him out to moon the movie line and then just stops the car, puts in the parking brake.
Thought he was going to keep driving. Yeah. Sorry.
So let me give you some other news here before we get to the wonderful reactions from the left, because that is fun. Thomas, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and of course Coney Barrett are going to join Alito. This is all from the leak. We don't know with 100% certainty the majority decision. Now, of course, Kagan, Breyer, Sotomayor have dissented. Sotomayor is an idiot. Now, Roberts, we don't know. From everything that we have right
sounds delicious.
Yes.
Weird name, but delightful.
Yeah. She's also foing.
Yes.
She's quite foing. And she's pro-life, so you know she's fertile.
I took Coney to Coney, and I
Now,
had some more Coney.
just lost the pro-life card. Did he do the grease motion under the dock? Yes, but this is a woman.
Ooh.
No, that's a really weird woman. That's a
bunch of rolls.
Yeah, that's a bunch of rolls.
Ooh, yeah.
I like my women. You like your women curvy? I like them foldy.
When they wash up on the beach, they're mermaids.
Yes.
They're sea cows.
Yeah.
They're manatees.
They're manatees. half man, half manatee.
Yeah, but they're mine.
Yeah. It's like an ocean tar. Well, I keep it PG-13, but
I should really have one of those.
yes. So now let's get to, before we get some more of the ins and outs here. Of course, as expected, and by this, what I mean when I say as expected, I don't just mean that it's coming from the left. I don't just mean the type of reaction, but that the people who are delivering these reactions also look exactly how you would expect them to. Enjoy.
Oh,
It could also become a criminal offense.
It's Black or Pete Davidson.
Murder or manslaughter to have a miscarriage or carry out an abortion in a different state.
Dennis
This
Rodman
will be
thinks you look
arguably the
stupid.
single largest slide into fascism for this country in living memory, and that is saying something. Do what
Comb
you
your
gotta
hair.
do, but be ready.
The reason they're keeping this focused on abortion rights is that, look, there's lots of people who are
Ever sleep with a woman with a goatee?
I doesn't say anything about it.
I like to wake up next to Clown Smash Mouth.
Has way more
I wish the
effects
doctor
than
would
just
flip
that,
some of this
because
fat
it's
out my
about
neck.
privacy.
So these are not tears
Demolition
of
Man.
like sadness. These are tears of rage.
You break the rules to become the hero. I do it and I become the enemy.
Your diet is the abortion.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's the thing.
Sorry, that may have been too far. but
No, it's not
true.
too far. It's not too far at all. It's ad hominem. It's entirely appropriate because all of them are scary. Now,
Well, especially the first one. It's like, what you worry about, guys? You don't have to worry about that.
No.
None of your-
well, that's what I have a theory.
lunatic.
It's always really, really unattractive women who, for example, they bitch about catcalling. They bitch about abortion. And here's the thing. I know there are plenty of attractive women who believe in the right to abortion. That being said, women who are attracted, this is just a theory. Just to be clear, this is just conjecture, okay? I'm not a doctor on ugly chicks. No. They look like, because attractive women who support abortion, they still, they're often because they can sleep with whoever they want.
Well, they're interested in the choice.
But they're predominantly concerned with usually attractive women like, hey, I'm not a slut. You know what I mean? That's like,
Right.
hey, I'm not a slut. So they typically don't want to go out and shout their abortion. These often women want to be like, look, so everybody wants to catcall me, and I'm having so much sex that I have to have all these abortions, you guys. And everyone's like, right.
Sure. Somebody, you walking down the street and a construction worker yelling, move, so they can see a hotter woman is not catcalled.
Exactly. This just starts aiming his pneumatic drill. Yeah, look, like, it's like Elena Dunham's like, oh my gosh, I hope I'm at this party, I'm super drunk, I took muscle relaxers, I hope nobody rapes me. Like, you're good.
Yeah, you're fine. Nobody wants consent or anything.
Have you noticed the playpen? Go in there.
Enjoy. Everyone hates you.
Yes.
You're an awful person.
You're a terrible, terrible person.
It's awful.
They even started supporting outside. We showed you this, but we have some more. The Supreme Court already.
We will not go back. Abortion is healthcare. Abortion is healthcare. Oh, hey, hey. Oh, sexist fascists have to go. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. If we don't get it,
Hey, I've heard that before.
Okay. First off, let's break down sexual fascism. This is what they're using nowadays. I mean, we could probably bring up the definition a little bit later. I'm going by rote, but primarily the concern with fascism is them forcing you to conform, right? By the threat of force, having to conform with a political persuasion, a point of view, a lifestyle as dictated by a tyrannical government. Can someone make an argument? And if you make a good argument here, we'll pin the comment on YouTube. How giving the rights back to the states to determine their own abortion laws, how that is sexual fascism? Who is forcing you to conform to their view of sexuality here? Is anyone are they forbidding you from having sex? No. Are they forbidding you from having sex with as many partners as you want? No. Are they forbidding you from having sex a specific way or purchasing a Vietnamese sex hammock? I can testify. No. So, how is there sexual fascism? Oh, wait.
It is a nice hammock.
Yes, it is
I took a nap on it. I didn't know it was a sex hammock.
Well, it's also because it's supportive.
It's good. It's nice. It came with that wonderful milking table.
It's like sleeping on a cloud.
Yes, it's great.
Also has stirrups. So it's right in there. So I don't understand. Where's the sexual fascism coming from? Oh, wait, hold on a second. And this is something whether you agree with my point of view or not. Even as it relates to what happens after you've had sex irresponsibly and couldn't be bothered to purchase a 25-cent rubber at a truck stop or use birth control, or if you work at Hobby Lobby, take advantage of the 16 forms of birth control available, which you complained about as a violation of human rights on par with the Holocaust. Even after all of that, we still believe in many, many options if you are with child. 4, we just don't want the 5th. What's that? We believe in chastity, abstinence, contraception, parenthood or adoption, just not the 5th.
Butterface.
Now, you might not agree with me, but guess what? That's not fascism. Just like 16 forms of birth control at Hobby Lobby, but which is actually there are very few businesses that actually subsidize birth control to the degree of Hobby Lobby. I don't get the 20. It doesn't matter. That's not fascism. Everyone remembers Pol Pot. Yeah, you have 16 choices. No, of course not. That's not how it works. This is the term that they use, sexual fascism, and it doesn't even take into account that there's a legal argument here. Their hero, their heroine, RBG said it was bad law. So one of them may have all of this figured out, and this is one of my favorites, without Roe v. Wade, this is a brilliant idea. Maybe people should just stop having sex.
Hear me out. If they overturn Roe v. Wade, humans that possess uteruses should collectively get together and never have sex with men again. Some of you guys were on the fence already about it. This will be the best way to protest this.
Deal.
Transies it is. You made me this way. She has to go to great lengths, too. She's like, humans without a uterus, because there's one NCAA swim champ like, hey,
what about me?
What about me? Can I have an abortion? Sure.
Yeah, whatever you call it.
Whatever
that is.
They can't stop tripping over their own prosthetic dicks. Now,
sorry, we can't do the heart transplant. We're doing a fake abortion 2 rooms down.
Yes. Yes. Oh, well, legs in the stirrups. Okay. We are going to, of course,
Put the bed
go
pan
into
under
the,
you? I
the
don't know.
birth canal. Let me just move these testicles out of the way. And,
All right.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Here we got
You
it.
don't have an appendix anymore.
It's like the final scene in Man on the Moon with Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
Just pull out a baby, like a clown with one of those ropes. But this is where they are. There's no way to. How can you say that abortion is about supporting women when you're allowing men to beat the crap out of women in sports? When you're allowing men in women's only spaces? Let's be honest about this. This isn't about women's rights. Women, I hope you are seeing this. And I say this because, look, the only demographic left that has not made a wild swing toward the right, this includes Latinos, this includes blacks. I'm not saying that they're all a majority Republican, but a significantly higher portion. And yes, a majority of Latinos here. The only group that hasn't swung is suburban women. And then when you talk with most of these women about these issues, they invariably find out that they're far more conservative than they realize because women are often more agreeable. That's what we love about you. And so often women want to avoid topics that will create conflict, things like abortion. And so they go along with, not all women, to be clear, but statistically, if you look at the polling data, a lot of women seem to sort of be led by the nose on abortion. They believe, oh, sexual fascism, oh, my body, my choice. This is an opportunity to educate people. That people have said, where's the hope? Where's the silver lining? There's a lot of it, not only with Twitter last week, not only with the giant polling shifts, but what you're seeing now with this. This is going to give you an opportunity to educate people. Go down to these protests in your city. Go down and talk with them. And if they keep yelling that they're not a church mouse, find someone, reasonable and, like a 6. So some lawmakers...
that's not what you want to take home.
If you look at this, lawmakers, they've already taken to Twitter calling for codifying Roe into law. So you have Bernie Sanders, where he said, Congress must pass legislation that codifies Roe v. Wade as the law of the land in this country now. Son of a bitch! If there aren't 60 votes in the Senate to do it, and there are not, we must end the filibuster and pass it with 50. Then you have, I'm trying to find a way to always bring it.
Actually, that was ridiculous, so it made perfect sense to do it in the late great Gilbert's voice.
You have Elizabeth Warren. I don't know if you know this. Noted not Native American Elizabeth Warren.
But my Kung Pao Chow.
Yes, my Kung Pao Chow. Yes, exactly.
I realize that's Asian.
Good point. No, you are the Panda Express of Native Americans.
You really are. Your teepee, peepee, whatever cookbook. Canoeing lessons.
She wrote this. She tweeted this. An extremist Supreme Court is poised to overturn Roe v. Wade and impose its far-right, unpopular views on the entire country. It's time for the millions who support the Constitution and abortion rights to stand up and make their voices heard. We are not going back. Not ever. And of course, noted favorite representative who is googly, I repeat, googly, AOC said, people elected Democrats precisely so we could lead in perilous moments like these to codify. By the way, she knows perilous moments because she was 4 miles away when there was a bomb threat once.
I know, terrifying. She almost died.
Yeah,
I'm told.
Exactly. It's like someone like, I was there. The Boston Marathon bombing. Really, where were you? Well, I was in Nantucket.
Yeah, Queens, Jamaica.
Yeah, but I was alive. I guess at some point I was facing the general direction of the Boston Marathon bombing. So I too.
Yeah, 9/11, rough day for me. Oh, were you there? Ah, no.
Yeah.
So how were? Oh, yeah, but I almost died.
I couldn't pick up my dry cleaning.
Yeah, are you kidding? There were places that were closed.
It affects us all. So she wrote, people, AOC, elected Democrats, precisely so we could lead in perilous moments like these to codify Roe, hold corruption accountable, and have a president who uses his legal authority to break through congressional gridlock on items from student debt to climate. Okay. All right. So look, before I'm...
Sorry.
Yes, this is perilous. Student debt.
I just love the why it's an issue to issue thing. Why do they always drag in the dumbest shit? Anyway,
it's perilous. No, it's perilous. You know why it's perilous? Because these people don't have an actual...
Pronounced paralysis.
They don't have an actual fight. Well, Greg Abbott's in a wheelchair. They don't have an actual fight. So, yeah, that's what happened on the beaches of Normandy. That first scene of Saving Private... And they're seeing their friend carrying around his arm, going like, oh, God, I hope I don't have a $20,000 loan with unreasonable interest on my basket weaving degree. You have nothing. Student debt? Don't go into debt. How about that? How about don't go to, climate? Well, I don't know. Look, if you want to talk about climate being more, look, here's the thing. I get that you care about climate more, and I think that you think that people shouldn't have to pay off their own loans more. That's more important to you. But can you at least acknowledge, because I understand why people on the left, women who don't really know what abortion is, who don't know when viability actually takes place, who don't understand that there's new DNA, that you do not have 20 fingers, 20 toes, that if you have a boy, that you don't have a vagina and a penis. Right? I understand that many women don't know this, and so they believe that they are pro-choice. I get where I think they're wrong. Can you acknowledge that if someone, particularly scientists, particularly every biology textbook that's ever existed, right, the definition of where life begins, can you acknowledge that to someone who believes, let's say, a 32-week-old baby that's being aborted in Colorado, can you acknowledge that to them that's more pressing than a 1.6 degree increase in the next 100 years? Can you at least understand why to these people it's pressing? It's not about finding common ground. It's about just trying to understand the other perspective, which, by the way, is why we use liberal sources. You can check all references available at louderwithcarter.com. So here's the thing that they're trying to claim. They believe that overturning it'll set a precedent that's completely unheard of. By the way, no problem with packing the Supreme Court. And they'll try and point to, but they don't really understand exactly what happened when the Supreme Court was expanded because of the country and population. But here they try and act as though this is something, if we overturn Roe v. Wade, everything else is going to be overturned because this hasn't happened before. The Supreme Court has overturned over 230 rulings in its history. 230 is not a mundane detail, Michael.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, and by the way, you're saying, well, these are just...
Two of them were guilty.
Yeah, these are just small decisions, is what you might want to... These are just, these aren't pivotal wedge issues like this. No, you're wrong. And by the way, many of those overturnings you supported because they reflected your position. Liberals, so you have Brown versus the Board of Education. That ruled, this is one that I think is actually a good thing, that racially segregated schools were unconstitutional. Great. That's one that we can all agree with. But then you have Lawrence versus Texas, and you have Obergefell versus Hodges, which ruled that bans on same-sex marriages were unconstitutional. Where were you guys on the overturning there? My point is this. We understand the rules to the game here. You have to play by them. You can't just throw a hissy fit when it doesn't go your way. That's the worst kind of player. Soccer. So, what is actually being overturned? And by the way, Dave and I have had conversations on this. Dave isn't on the same side of the political spectrum entirely that I am as far as pro-life. I think you hold a reasonable position. I think some of them, I disagree with them. We'll probably have a conversation today on Mug Club about it.
Yeah, it's not I come from a different place, and it's not but I mean, this is a different animal that we're talking about right now. It's not what they're making it into.
No, that's exactly
Which is exactly what they do. The second, like we said, they hear a word or they hear something's going to happen, they jump on it immediately, pretend it's something that it's not, and they gaslight the other side. It's all they do. It's their tactic.
Like Church Mouse.
A bit like Church Mouse.
It's kind of like when you watch World Star Hip Hop. You ever see when what are you saying? Black people, when they get into a fight, and then it's like, how it's about to come to blows?
Yes.
Is when they repeat the same thing over and over. Like they're talking trash before that, and a lot of zingers, and then all of a sudden they're just like, yeah, you a bitch. And then now it's no longer like, you a bitch? Yeah, your mama's a bitch. It's just like, yeah, you a bitch. And they get up close like, you a bitch. You a bitch. By the 6th, you a bitch, there's something coming. Now, when he starts repeating himself, that's when it gets dangerous. You're in the danger zone.
Well, it's because fight and flight, all of a sudden it's not flight, it's fight. Everything else in your world is gone, including the ability to, rip on someone.
Yep.
And it's just an attack.
There was one, I think it was on Ultimate Fighter, it was Rampage Jackson versus a guy named Rashad Evans. So, guess the ethnicity. And
Polish.
He's going, you a bitch. You a bitch, Rashad. You a bitch. He's like, yeah, go ahead and treat me like a bitch. You a bitch. Go ahead and treat me like a bitch. You a bitch. Go ahead and treat me like... And then you see the coach is getting like, all right, separate. We know where this is going.
Stand back, Marcel Wallace.
Yeah. All right, so Roe v. Wade, federally enshrined abortion. Okay, and it was predicated on the idea of viability. And here's also the problem with that. Viability changes as technology advances. You can go back and watch the Change My Minds that we've done. Oh, viability is the argument. So is a baby more valuable at Lenox Hill in Manhattan than they are in the hills of Tennessee? Because they have better technology? Well, it's viable there. It's not. So does geography determine whether it's a life or not?
I certainly think 9 months does.
that would be, I think it's a good jumping off point.
I think it's fair to say that's just disgusting to me. And what I don't understand is how you think that this is compassion for people while you don't have compassion for a person as well.
Right.
It's insane to me.
So Roe v. Wade enshrined viability into law. And so basically what it means is the first trimester, a state can't regulate abortion. Okay, that's it. Now, the court determined, here's the thing. It's not based on a constitutional right to abortion, despite what not church mouse would have you believe. It's the due process clause of the 14th Amendment protects the right to privacy against state action. It's basically a technicality about the right of privacy and a patient and their doctor. It does not, Roe v. Wade does not say that abortion is a constitutional right. Okay? And unfortunately, what happens, as you see with laws a lot of the time, something gets ruled on the Supreme Court, and then you see smaller courts that interpret it some way, and it's a bastardization of the law, and then it ends up bouncing. So this is the problem that we've run into. This is why Roe v. Wade is something that even Ruth Bader Ginsburg said is a problem. We should probably take another run at it and do it properly. So it's about a woman's right to privacy. And this is how Alito referred to the case in his majority opinion. He said, Roe expressed the feeling that the 14th Amendment was a provision that did the work, but its message seemed to be that the abortion right could be found somewhere in the Constitution, and that specifying its location was not of paramount importance. So it was, let me read that again, that the right to abortion, the abortion right, could be found somewhere in the Constitution, and that specifying its exact location was not of paramount importance. I will say that's a little bit passive-aggressive.
Yeah, it really is.
But I like that.
He did it right.
That's passive-aggressive, Justice Alito, and I dig that about you. So, you know who else understood how flawed it was? Again, I sort of, like you, I spoiled it, Mr. Moneyball.
I'm sorry about the Moneyball.
But I did the same thing with RBG. I already said it. So this is what she wrote. She wrote doctrinal limbs.
Yeah, she was not for this.
No, she wrote.
People don't realize that.
She said doctrinal limbs too swiftly shaped. Experience teaches may prove unstable. She also said the unelected judges decided this question for the country, and never mind that the issue was in flux in the state legislatures. So she wanted to approach abortion under the Equal Protection Clause. And she knew that framing it around privacy wouldn't hold up in the long run. So, hey, she got one right.
That is true. Sorry, liberals. Your hero's robbing you from the grave.
You need to get the snidely whip. Can you think you can grow it that much? And be like, sorry, feminists.
Sorry, feminists. RBG took your ability to get in the booty. She's haunting you.
She's haunting you.
She's the ghost of Christmas future.
She's a specter. A specter of death. So,
RBG.
Now we get to the leak.
The notorious RBG. Yeah, they really made her into.
Yeah, I know.
It was ridiculous.
Or they were like, look how fit she is, that Netflix documentary.
Oh, yeah, when she's like barely holding up a 1 pound weight and like throwing up broth.
Yes,
You're like,
exactly.
yeah, she's doing great.
Yeah, exactly.
She's probably going to be around for at least another 10 minutes.
She's like lifting a rubber band. You hear snap. You're like, we'll get you another rubber band. No, that was my another ligament.
So, just another toe.
Ironically, she did look like a church mouse.
She did.
Yeah. She was half demon, half church mouse.
And fairly quiet.
Yeah.
Especially on a plane sitting next to a minority. She'd be like, oh, I'm scared.
Yeah. I shouldn't have flown Spirit.
I just thought I'd save a buck or two.
Yes.
I'm so scared.
Not worth it. They make me pay for my carry-on anyways.
This is a stampede to get off this plane.
So Ruth Bader Ginsburg agrees with Alito. This is something that a lot of people may not necessarily realize. Now let's get to the leak. Okay, let me explain this. Not a big fan of the leak. I'm glad to hear what we've heard. But let me give you a guess. I'm pretty sure the leak is from a leftist. Why? This is an intimidation tactic. Now, when you talk about unprecedented, that nothing has been overturned, that's what we call in the biz wrong. Right? 230 examples of you being wrong. In this case, we actually have something that is unprecedented as far as a security breach, a leak of a ruling of the Supreme Court. That's a really big deal. And of course, you see it. And just like clockwork, you see the protests, and you know it's going to get violent because it's never not. That's why I'm guessing that it's a liberal. So let's read from Politico. It says, no draft decision in modern history of the court has been disclosed publicly while a case was still pending. You don't say, but didn't you leak it?
Yeah, they totally did.
I was like, no, this has never happened. This is really dangerous. Oh, so it's because of you. It would be dangerous. No, you did it. Oh.
You're kind of solely responsible for all the danger that's brewing up right now before it comes out.
Well, the leak came to us.
Yeah, that's all
I didn't leak it. It's just we leaked it.
Yeah, that's all. We leaked it after it was leaked.
Yes.
What's the trouble?
So the going theory right now, and this is sort of breaking, we'll keep you updated. It's almost 11 o'clock Eastern. The only people who would have had access to it, unlike Hunter Biden's 9 hard drives, or we found this out. Swalwell, unfortunately, him and the Chinese spy had an OnlyFans.
Did they?
Didn't require a lot of digging.
Oh.
Just an $11 a month subscription, which seems high.
Yeah, it does seem high. I wouldn't want to watch, especially because he farts during it.
Yes, I know. Well, everyone has their thing.
Anytime there's a mic around.
Don't want to be a sexual fascist, but that's gross. So the going theory right now is that it was a clerk for Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Before we go to the quote, the stupidest of the judges. That's how I refer to her.
Yes.
Let me read a quote here on Twitter. It says, a person called Amit Jain clerks for Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor as a Yale student. Is it Jane or Yane? Well, hopefully they'll be going to Yale.
Yeah.
Blasted Yale for supporting Brett Kavanaugh's nomination. Jane or Yane, I don't know, as I'm reading this as it's breaking, was quoted in a 2017 Politico piece by Josh Gerstein. Today, Gerstein published the draft opinion on Roe. So, assholes of a feather, that's why it's the best guess at this point. Let me give to you why the leak matters, okay? And I understand that sometimes, leakers, there's a difference between a whistleblower and a leaker. The Supreme Court has actually been referred to, and I think we have this from the Chicago Tribune, as the last leak-proof institution. And again, because it's very, very small. It's closed circuit.
Yes.
And that needs to be by design, as opposed to city legislatures like in Seattle or Portland who get pressured due to the violence to defunding the police, and then they go, we really shouldn't have done that. This is now a hellscape.
Yeah.
You don't want that happening at the Supreme Court.
At all.
You don't want these people. It's supposed to be separate. That's why. Can you guys, hey, we'll read this in the chat later, but pause it if you're watching this on the archive. By the way, smash that like button. That does help with the algorithm. The best thing you can do is smash the like button. You can comment. You can share, all that stuff. Anyway, doesn't matter. Last leak-proof institution. I forgot what I was going to say because I'm still thinking about.
Well, they are the last leak
Yane
institution. Yeah, Yane is not a name.
Yane.
Neither is Coney. I mean,
Yane is off the Yane.
Yane. Cocaine.
So here's the thing. Leaks are incredibly... Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. 3 branches of government. Can you name it? Don't use a cheat sheet with Schoolhouse Rock. Again, leaks are a real problem to the process of deliberation. This is something that people... It's just, look, there's inconsistency on both sides. Let me be clear about this, okay? It's not really... You're not breaking new ground by accusing someone of being a hypocrite, because everyone is a hypocrite. And you do have people who praise whistleblowers and then condemn whistleblowers depending on who it is. Okay, got it. However, this has never happened. Ever. And there's a reason for it. Let me read you from Politico. Deliberations on controversial cases have in the past been a fluid process. And I mean that in the actual sense of fluid, not you can be whatever gender you want, depending on when the clock strikes 12. It says justices can and sometimes do change their votes as draft opinions circulate, and major decisions can be subject to multiple drafts and vote trading, sometimes until just days before a decision is unveiled. The court's holding will not be final until it is published, likely in the next 2 months. Look, this is one of those things where secrecy it's of paramount. There are things that you have that of course we have the right to know. For example, if American citizens are being throttled or silenced on social media, I know, private company, but if they're being throttled or silenced on social media as per the directions of the United States government, these are things you have a right to know.
If you voted more than once.
This is something, good point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Not that that would ever happen.
Right. Hey, can we write down, guys in the control room, can we write down for next election anyone here who wants to vote more than once? I don't want to. Okay. So
I vote 3 times.
Well, yeah. I mean, you do the absentee and then you do the other absentee.
Yeah. Well, they send me 3.
It's kind of like when I used to go and get the price match guarantee.
Yeah.
And they say, we price match. Now I would go to one place and say, hey, they beat your price. And then they're like, well, then we have to beat their price. And I go back and say, they beat your price.
I know. You can stop at 4 different churches in my area that have voting.
Yep.
It's wonderful.
Yep. Also, trash bins.
Yeah. Where they tell you to put, if you don't like who you're,
yeah,
all the pamphlets you get for the other team.
Yeah, exactly.
This side.
Yeah, and that's where you find a bunch of votes. So there are
Sorry,
things
I'm just learning as this goes along.
There are things you have the right.
I feel a little off, and
It's
I've
okay.
just never. But I'm just watching. Like I didn't know all about this until yesterday, to be honest.
There are things you have the right to know. For example, when people say, we have a right to know everything as it relates to national security. No, Geraldo Rivera shouldn't give away coordinates. So my point here is there are things that need to be kept private. And certainly deliberation between judges, which is supposed to be a separate branch of government. They are supposed to be siloed by design. They are supposed to be completely devoid of outside influence. And this is why conservatives tend to support originalists. They are supposed to be beholden to the text of the law. So there's inconsistency on all sides as it relates to whistleblowers. However, in this case, it's unprecedented, and it is very clearly meant to be an intimidation tactic because they want to try and pressure the Supreme Court. They want them to be afraid. They want them to make a decision. Now, where am I getting this from? Where am I getting this from that, the left seeks to try and intimidate through the bully pulpit, through the power of the mob? I don't know, Black Lives Matter riots. I don't know, Antifa.
I mean, as an opinion, the only reason you would leak the document.
Yeah.
What's the other purpose?
I mean, you're going to find out in 2 months.
I mean, that's really what it is.
Exactly. It's not like you're saving somebody. It's not like you're saving somebody's life by leaking something as far as, a hostage situation, or if there are war crimes being committed. That's not what's happening here. It's you're leaking something that there's an opinion coming down the pike that you don't like, and you have made very clear, leftists, in the past, you will be violent to oppose.
And you're also ignorant about. So it's very easy for you to go out and just start protesting, and, eventually that leads to death, destruction, everything else that we've seen.
Well, I think, too, this is one thing where if you look at the recent polls where you see... you know what? Let me go to CNN really quickly, but I want to remind me to go back to the polls of national security and Biden doing very poorly on it.
Right now, we'll go to the polls of Tubin.
Yes.
A leak happens of this magnitude from the court. The opinions are never indicated or released at any point before decision day. We're still waiting to hear if and when the Supreme Court might comment on this. We were outside the Chief Justice's home, John Roberts, earlier this morning. He was asked if he had any comment about the leak, if there would be any investigation.
Am I the only one who at the very least, I don't know if that's journalistically unethical, but asshole-ish.
It's just, I just hate that.
We were outside of his home. I was hiding in the hot tub, and, he didn't want to talk to me. So
I was on his swing in the yard.
Yes.
It's a nice playscape.
Yes, exactly. I was holding a blow dryer with a scope, and he didn't seem to like that very much. So back to you, Tubin.
Stelter was on all fours on his front lawn eating a pizza like a dog.
Yes. With a woman.
With a woman, going, you're straight, Stelter's great.
Let's see what CNN has to say about this, because we just gave you some context, this exact quote on Alito. References available at louderwithcarter.com. Let's see if they give context or if they just go into hysterics.
People's elected representatives. Politico releasing this draft opinion, 98 pages from Justice Alito, joined crucially by 4
Releasing is the term they use. Releasing. Yes. Releasing means it's a plan. This isn't a PR release, it's a leak.
Officially, it would send a seismic wave all over
and
the
it's
country.
a crime.
We've seen Republican-led
That's what I
states
don't. It's a
forth
crime.
legislation
Somebody
that
should
would
be held
roll back or
responsible.
completely eliminate the right to abortion. So they are ready
Practically
to act
eliminate the
here,
right to abortion.
and we know
So
that,
we just
states
had
are
what we
about
just told you.
half
It's a
of the
leak.
states.
And they said a release, and of course this sends it back to the states, and they just said we'll practically eliminate the right to an abortion. That's how they just framed it on the most trusted name in news. Are you paying attention yet? Let's hear their experts. Let's see resting terror. Oh, look, it's Tubin.
Oh.
Hey, great, yeah. Hey,
I heard flapping.
I guess it's if you have a penis, no right to an opinion unless you are chafing it on a webcam.
Yes, of course, unless you're using it in every conference call.
Yes,
then
exactly.
It's fine.
Its makeup, but by its decision to take the Mississippi case in the first place. But how shocking is this draft?
How do you still have a job? You were masturbating on camera.
Good morning. It's shocking in just about every way how it would roll back a half century of reproductive rights for women, how it was disclosed to the American public late last night, and in terms of the substance that you ask about, Bianna,
disclosed.
Just
release,
language
disclosed, availed,
of Roe v. Wade,
carrier pigeoned.
Joan, you couldn't get pregnant with a time machine.
Is so sharp and so strong that I have
and
to tell you the truth that
Yeah.
I can't imagine
I'm playing
that
Peter
what
Pan in the
ultimately
school
comes
play.
out from the court is as harshly worded. The sentiment will probably be there, but to have 5 justices join what is such a strong statement against precedent, referring to abuse of judicial authority by prior Supreme Courts in allowing abortion rights, and also how,
by the way,
sweepingly
everything we've already addressed, they're using right now. It'll go against precedent. No, it doesn't. It'll roll back all abortion rights. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. We've already addressed it. So you're seeing in real time, and this is why, look, I'm not going to toot my own horn or the horn of researchers, producers here. We almost exclusively read liberal sources to try and prepare you for what it is they're going to say. Right now, in real time, they're saying it. By the way, the most trusted masturbatory experts. Let's hear what else they say. I really want to listen to this for a little bit.
Because of how long Roe v. Wade had been entrenched, that the Supreme Court would not reverse it. That was obviously before Donald Trump put his 3 appointees on the court.
Oh, it's Trump's fault.
But now there's nothing that I think of as off limits. You know, I used to say, oh, they'd never reverse Obergefell, which was the 2015 case that made same-sex marriage a fundamental constitutional right. But now I have to say, I'm never going to say never again.
Right.
It's happening under Biden's watch.
Jeffrey,
I know.
The language may change.
Regardless of who he put in.
If this in draft,
So
draft
Jeffrey,
is
you
valid,
remember me.
likely won't change, right? And you say that this would be a seismic shift for the country.
It was, and and again, if this is the opinion or something close to it is the opinion, it's worth remembering what the basis of Roe v. Wade.
Okay, let's see if he talks about the right to privacy.
The Casey decisions were, which is the right to privacy, which which the justices found implicit.
He's
in
thinking
various
clear-headedly because he cleaned out the pipes.
And the right to privacy, according to the court, for decades has protected a right to purchase contraception. It is the right to have consensual sex with a person of the same sex or of a different sex. It's related
It's the
to
right
the right
to finish on a keyboard while on a live TV show.
Same sex or a different sex.
He has to have the silicone.
If there is no more
cover.
right to privacy in the Constitution,
Changes
as
daily.
this opinion seems to suggest,
This opinion doesn't. Let's look at that. He was on. Here's the thing. He just went a little bit further, and this is something you need to be prepared for. That's why I say there's the tree trunk, and then there are the branches. You have the basic bitches going, no abortion, constitutional right, and then he just acknowledged, okay, the right to privacy, understood. But then he said that overturning Roe v. Wade, it's a tantamount to saying that the Constitution doesn't guarantee a right to privacy. No, it's not. So you use the right premise and then you veered. No, it's saying that abortion isn't a constitutionally protected right under the right to privacy. Does this? Let me walk you through this right now. Socratic method. Your right to privacy. You have the right to do whatever you want in your own house, provided you're not breaking the law or harming anybody. Does that change? No. You have the right to watch what you want to watch. Does that change? No. You have the right to have sex with whoever you want to have sex with, and nobody else has to interrogate you. Does that change? No. You have the right to purchase contraception, and that's your private right. Does that change? No. You have the right to privacy between you and your primary physician. Does that change? No. You have the right to discuss with your primary physician, for example, if they are primary physician, not, for example, like Planned Parenthood, who've never performed a mammogram in their life. You have the right to have a mammogram. Does that change? No. You have the right to not be spied upon by the government. Does that change? Well, that kind of has gone away with the Patriot Act and, of course, what we see from the left. But in theory, no. The only thing that goes away is this idea that abortion is a constitutionally enshrined right under the false premise of privacy. That serial masturbator / sex offender just implied that this decision would overturn the constitutional right to privacy. No one's talking about doing away with the 14th Amendment. So it seems like I'm angry. It's not that I'm angry because of church mouses out in front of the Supreme Court. It's because they are so fundamentally dishonest, and this is the silver lining. The House of Cards is coming down. They go, look, right now there's no one on there to challenge them. They have 4 people. Say what you want about Fox News, and I've said it a lot. At the very least, they're going to have a token Democrat in that quadrant view. CNN doesn't even try. It's just lie, and then a little bit more of a manicured lie. Let's hear if anyone here actually...
Yeah, it starts as a truth, and then it spins at the end every time.
It's constant straw manning.
Particularly women. It's hard to predict right now.
Define woman.
How many people will come out. I know that the Democrats are going to be out there saying This is going to affect everything, as Jeffrey was just saying before. It's not just the question of abortion. It's the question of where else the court will go. Will the court backtrack on gay marriage, for example, as Joan was questioning? So I think the Democrats are going to raise these issues.
Oh, that's a
I think
shock that
Biden's
they're
gonna
bringing
raise
up
these
all
issues,
these other
and
things to
how
upset
people
people
react
and rile up
remains to be seen.
the public.
Will they go
Joan, I know
back
you
against
have
it? Isn't it
reporting
funny,
on
too, that they just
Justice
implied that
Roberts
constitutionally
stands on this.
protected rights include abortion and banging a dude with a ring on? Like, let's just be like, they say those are constitutionally protected rights, and they also believe that a constitutional right should be the right to student loans being forgiven. They believe that the right to, not health care, not the right to maintain your own health care. Hey, that falls under the right of privacy right now. That's a perfect example. We believe in your right to privacy. You can purchase any health care you want. You can take care of your health however you want. You can have an HSA. You can have some kind of an emergency account. You can have a health sharing program. No, they believe in what? They believe in socialized health care. I mean, this is the mainstream platform of the left. We just quoted AOC, and of course, Bernie Sanders has supported that as well. They believe those things are rights. What about the Second Amendment? So we have these absolute rights for abortion, and we'll get to what happens with that in states like Colorado and states like Virginia, where if a baby survives, it can still technically be aborted, thrown in a waste paper basket. By the way, that's not extremist. Your champion, your star player, Barack Obama, voted against the Infants Born Alive Act in Illinois, where babies who were surviving abortions were not being given the health care that other babies were being given. He voted against just requiring doctors to give babies who managed to evade the forceps the same kind of health care as any other baby. He voted against it. So I'm saying this is not a fringe view. This is the mainstream view of the Democratic platform. All of these things, same-sex marriage, and I'm not even talking about where you line up on the
Another thing
same-sex.
he didn't care about.
Right, that's another thing. Well, he was against.
Yes.
Then he was for it. Same-sex marriage is a right. Student loan forgiveness is a right. Healthcare is a right. Abortion is a right. What about the Second Amendment? That one's pretty clear. In other words, find me. Grab your Constitution right now. I'll make it publicly available in the references. I shouldn't have to, but many of you, of course, haven't read it. Find me the right to an abortion. Find it. Find me the right to same-sex marriage. Find it. Find me the right to forcing a company to provide you with health care free of charge at the taxpayer's expense. Find it for me. Find me the right to free university. Find me that right. Hey, I'll find you the ones that we fight for every day. The Second Amendment. Where is it? Number 2. Shall not be infringed. Remember how I talked about supporting documents? That's important too. You don't just look at the Constitution. That's important. It's pretty clear there. Shall not be infringed. The rights of a free people. Right? People try to make a big deal out of the comment about the militia.
Yeah, but then they'll say that was old and it's different now.
Right.
Isn't that the exact same case with this?
Well, it would be the same. First Amendment, I don't see them saying that, well, it doesn't apply to the printing press. It doesn't apply to, Politico.
They don't care much about that either.
No. This is the point is when we say First Amendment, they say, well, private companies can do whatever they want. Okay, I get it. But your White House press secretary called upon Spotify and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. You created, under the Department of Homeland Security, meaning you can arrest people, a department to determine what is misinformation. Here's also something, by the way. Someone's right, the First Amendment, right to free speech, also protects their right to be wrong. So you can't silence them, even if it's misinformation, unless it's deliberate slander, deliberate libel, and we have laws for that. The Second Amendment is pretty clear. Again, you said right, abortion, right, same-sex marriage, right, education, right, healthcare. Second Amendment, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. You go to the supporting documents. Oh, wait a second. That's just back then. It was just for muskets. Wait! You look, I think it was Madison who wrote a letter of marque saying to a private ship, well, of course, yeah, you guys can have cannons. What is the Second Amendment? It protected cannons. That's at least an AR-15. You've heard me talk about this before. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it needs repeating. By the way, they also knew about the puckle gun, the pepper box revolver, the Girandoni air. There were plenty of higher capacity or rapid fire weapons that existed at that point. The only reason that they were too expensive to produce, for the same reason that not all of you today have an Elon Musk flamethrower. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So they make up rights where they don't exist, lie to you about them, and then when we say, hold on a second, let's just start with the 2 that are enshrined, number 1 and the number 2 that protects number 1. Oh, what are you, an absolutist? Yeah. Now let's look at where the left is mad. The left is mad that allegedly in 2 months, the Supreme Court may not recognize your right to force a state to give you the right to abortion up until and including birth period. We're just talking about the restrictions here in the first trimester. Everything else gets kicked to the states. Let's be clear about that. They're mad about that. What are conservatives mad about? And I will tell you, I am mad about this. I'm mad that they lied about this. This is not a release. This is not something that was disclosed to the public. Leftists are mad about the fact that abortion isn't found as a right in the Constitution. They're mad at the Constitution, really. Conservatives, myself, are mad about the leak. We're mad about something actually unprecedented. I'm mad about the torch mob trying to now exact justice themselves. We have a process. This is why, if you look at the polls, they recently came out, Joe Biden is, I think, the worst polling that's come out, not only of Joe Biden, but a Democratic ticket, a generic Democratic ticket versus Republican ticket, is the issue of rule of law. Hey, hold on a second. Rule of law. What are we? Black Lives Matter riots. You can't riot. They said, well, the riot is the language of the unheard. Okay. We talk about, hey, hold on a second. This is breaking the law. Former Vice President Joe Biden. Hunter Biden. I just get the Bidens confused because there's so many pieces of shit. So we say, hey, hold on a second. The problem is you're breaking the law. And so the left believes that the right believes in the rule of law. Right now, you look at the left, they're mad with what will be the rule of law. Better legal reasoning at the Supreme Court. So they're mad with rule of law, and Republicans are mad at the breaking of rule of law, that a crime has been committed in leaking this. And there have been plenty, not just, again, we want to use the mainstream left, their platform, use Republicans that most of whom I don't even like. You have people like Tom Cotton, Josh Hawley, Rick Scott, and I believe that Senator Small Hands Mark Rubio probably said it best. He said, the next time you hear the far left preaching about how they are fighting to preserve a republic's institutions and norms, remember how they leaked a Supreme Court opinion in an attempt to intimidate the justices on abortion. That's really well said. And I don't even like Marco Rubio that much.
Dave, you were asking earlier about there being some kind of punishment for this, and Josh Hawley just tweeted this. It should go without saying that if a justice leaked this, he or she should face impeachment.
Oh, 100%. I appreciate you looking that up. I would assume that, anybody who leaked this kind of information would have to, and I mean, anybody who does, like, I personally appreciated the Snowden thing, and I'm sure a lot of people disagree on that, but it's like, I really do think that if we don't start getting our government in check, because it's just showing that not only is the government, it's always people, it's always been people, it's why it's a flawed system, but it's becoming more and more flawed as we just give in to these mobs. And while this other side pushes in, constantly saying, oh, you're flipping this, you're just going to create a rule. Like if you got everything you wanted, you would eventually have 3 laws that basically took away every one of your human rights, and we would just be sitting under communism.
Yeah.
That's all that they want. And I don't understand why they don't grasp what a free country is, a free society. They don't look into the laws. Like, I enjoy learning about stuff like this.
They don't want it.
Well, of course they don't.
Here's the thing, you're earnest. You and I disagree on things because, I mean, you say you're more of a centrist, but the truth is today, like Elon Musk, you're definitely more conservative.
But that's even by, and I think a lot of people
But you approach it honestly,
default.
which I appreciate about you. And I know that even though our audience, people watching are likely more to the right than you, they appreciate that you go, okay, what's going on here? The thing is, people like the AOCs, and not just AOCs and Elizabeth Warrens, but people at CNN, they're not approaching it honestly. They're approaching it from, how can we misrepresent this? They don't want a free country.
Well, you just watched it again on real time on CNN, how they just changed simple words.
Yeah.
And say they want to take away your right for abortion.
Right. Well, and also,
this wasn't illegal. This is to take away your right for abortion. This is all the things that are meant to piss you off so that you start a fire. That's it.
Yeah. Well, they're going to start a fire because they're not a church mouse, Dave.
No. Come on, I'm not quiet.
Yeah. Well, church mouse, I mean, they just haven't really, they don't have Bic lighters.
She should put on her cap and go for a long winter's nap.
Yes,
that's what I say.
Yeah. And by winter's nap, I mean one from which you never wake up.
No.
Rip Van Winkle, only without the third act.
Yeah. It just means she should be in a play.
But you just, you just gave some examples that I do think are important. You just talked about Snowden. Okay, and a lot of people, they bleed together, Snowden, Assange, and I think there is a difference. But okay.
Yeah, I don't think it was legal what he did.
No, but
I'm just saying I appreciate it.
But here's the point: is there is an argument to be made.
Yeah.
Certainly. For both of them. And I think Assange and Snowden are different. Let's just say for the sake of argument right now, there is certainly an argument to be made that there is validity, for example, to whistleblowing when you are exposing corruption.
When something is illegal, absolutely.
Yes. Or not even when something is illegal, but something that harms the American populace, right? Let's say a backroom deal, something that is pulling the wool over their eyes, something that is deliberately pernicious.
Watergate.
Hey, right now, leaking. What corruption are you exposing? What illegality are you exposing? What are you blowing the whistle on? That judges are doing their job? That's how you differentiate. You go, oh, this is designed to intimidate. Oh, okay, got it. Hey, wait, hold on a second. Does it help? CNN, does it help illuminate the issue for the audience to stake outside of Justice Roberts' house in a rapist van? What's the added value there? Nothing. What's the added value?
Intimidation.
Taylor Lorenz.
But that's exactly what it is.
And posting the information of the parents of the libs of TikTok. What corruption are you exposing? Are the parents involved in some sort of illegal TikTok ring where they somehow managed to go out and find publicly posted videos of public teachers saying, share this to indoctrinate as many kids? What's the corruption that's being exposed? None. That's how you, at first pass, again, does it pass a sniff test? Okay, is
it collateral damage, though, when it's the point?
Right.
Because, like, her exposing them, it's by her exposing them, you're endangering them and all their family that's innocent, and all of your family that's innocent who doesn't want to be exposed, because now people are pissed off at you, they're going to go after them.
Right.
Everything that she went about in that way was wrong.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's what I mean. I don't even look at it as like a collateral damage thing. It's a deliberate thing to create all damage to be that.
Right. No, that's exactly what it is. That's the difference between whistle blowing. There's a purpose to it. The context of it is different versus just leaking private information in an unprecedented way, in a criminal way, in order to try and silence and intimidate to get your way. So what does this mean, though? This really means, right, with Roe v. Wade, Chief Justice launches investigation on leak of Roe draft opinion. Let's see Elizabeth Warren, who looks like a kindergarten boy.
Stand on the right to an abortion for some woman who can't support the children she has.
Is that her limo to take her to
and is
Hogwarts?
desperately trying to keep her family together. Let's get them on the record voting on that. And if we don't have enough votes to pass it now, we get everybody on the record and then we take that to the public in November. We've got less than 200 days until Election Day. Roe versus Wade,
and
in
that's
that sense,
the reason
is on
for
the
it.
ballot.
Is intimidation. It's trying to scare people. They're trying to gin up riots and protests right now so that people stay home and don't vote. Or they're trying to convince enough people out there that the right is as extreme as they are, believing that, kids should be put on puberty blockers. This is what your former vice president said, that affirming your child's gender, meaning not their gender, is one of the most important things you can do. They're trying to say, look at how extremist the right is. They're trying to remove your right to abortion. Let's make sure that message is heard up until and including elections. This isn't any different than the playbook where Kamala Harris said they should keep rioting. That's what they did back then. What did she just say? If we don't have the votes, if we can't go through the legislative process, if we can't go through rule of law, sort of like the process that we also understand with the filibuster and, not packing the Supreme Court, we're just going to abandon it and try and intimidate people with the power of the audience. And then they try and frame that as democracy. That's not democracy. That's mob rule. Let me see if she's still on there if they cut her off.
Isn't that coercion? I don't know law, but isn't it?
In a matter of speaking.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's a roundabout term, but it seems that way.
I don't think it's a roundabout term. I think it's a
pretty
way of the bird term.
Pretty direct,
as the crow travels.
Yes.
As the crow's feet, Elizabeth Warren travel. Let's go back to her.
Yes. I bet she's wearing moccasins.
That we're going to, after 50 years, decide a woman does not have a right to choose within the limits of the Supreme Court decision in Casey. Number one. But even more, equally as profound.
He just went number one.
Yes. And it would mean that every other decision.
He also paid 6 Russian prostitutes for abortions last night.
I realize this goes back a long way, but one of the debates I had with Robert Bork was whether Griswold versus Connecticut should stand as law. The state of Connecticut said that the privacy of your bedroom, a husband and wife or a couple could not choose to use contraception. To use the contraception was a violation of the law. If the rationale of the decision as released were to be sustained, a whole range of rights are in question.
Like what?
A whole range of rights.
Like what?
And the idea we're letting states make those decisions, localities make those decisions.
I just gave you a list of, you can rewind this probably about 15 minutes. We're going to be going long today.
They force people to wear condoms? Is that what he's talking about?
I don't know.
I don't believe that's accurate.
No, that's not what he saw. He was trying to say that one state said you couldn't use contraception, which is, again, it's a red herring. It's not something anyone's talking about right now. But what rights? I just gave you an example of rights that are not in the Constitution, that are also not at risk, like the right to privacy, all these, pretty much every other example of right to privacy that doesn't include abortion. He just said other rights are at risk. Name one! All right, Tokunawan here was telling me that there's something coming in.
Yes, we have breaking news. So Chief Justice John Roberts confirms that the draft overturning Roe v. Wade is genuine, and they will launch an investigation.
So I just saw on CNN that he was going to launch an investigation, but they confirmed that it is authentic. All right, good. Well, I didn't waste a whole show.
Well, that's good. As long as the FBI and CIA are on it, we'll never know.
Yes, yes. That's well. They're referred to as memory hole.
Yes. Just a guy with the boy's life in the bathroom. Oh, I got to do something today?
No. By do something, we mean nothing. Oh, good.
Oh, great.
Great.
I'm going to go continue leaking my information.
If you wouldn't mind, I'm on a Zoom call. So,
Jeffrey.
Let's look at what this actually does as far as it kicks abortion. By kick, I mean it gives the rights back to the states. We're just talking about the idea that states can't legislate abortion within the first trimester, right? That's what people are complaining about when they're filing these petitions that go up to the Supreme Court if there's a ban on abortion or if there are any limitations on abortion within the first trimester. This is why people get really confused. They say, don't states really already have the right? Yeah, okay. Now, if this is overturned, the only thing that really changes is that first trimester idea, this idea of viability. It's really not something as severe as they're making it out to be. It just allows states to be more free to make their own decisions with abortion. Okay, so the left, what they are arguing, and you're seeing this with Joe Biden, and we just quoted earlier AOC, and Bernie Sanders said it needed to be codified into law. So they want the federal government to control abortion regulations. So if they had their way, what does that mean? The federal government would set it. Basically, you wouldn't have states like Colorado or like California or like Connecticut, as he just mentioned, with extreme abortion laws, and then states like Texas or Mississippi. All states would look like Colorado. All states would look like Virginia if the federal government were in charge of abortion as they see fit, because you can see it on a state level. So let's look at the extreme right versus the extreme left. The most extreme anti-abortion laws would be those like Oklahoma's, right, the fetal heartbeat protection bill. Now, you may not agree with it, but the idea is there's a heartbeat, can't abort it. Once there's a heartbeat, can't abort it, right? These are the kinds of extreme laws that they vehemently oppose, said the church mouse. They're like, well, hold on a second, you can't. Well, hold on a second, whose heartbeat is it? You still have to answer that question. They don't want to answer the question. They just say it's about a woman's choice. Okay, so the woman has two hearts. What is she, a rainbow trout? Now, don't fact check me. I'm not exactly entirely sure which fish it is that has two hearts. Someone can comment below and let me know. I know there is a fish that has two hearts, though, so I'm half right. So the most
rainbow
extreme
trouts are pretty nice. Either way,
too fishy.
It's like no, not to eat, just to be friends with.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, they're fluid.
They're
fluid in fluid.
They
so
swim in
it is a trout, by the way.
It is a trout
wow.
with two hearts.
I didn't even know that. The rainbow trout.
Might not be a rainbow trout.
They call it
It
gay
just
fish.
says trout.
Okay. All right.
Well, I like trout.
I don't like trout.
I like to look at them.
Well, yeah, they're fun to look at. Or I particularly like it when there's a trout on a plaque, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a nice. And then it goes, smoke on the water. Yeah. And you go, what a wonderful gift.
This is great that this took over the 90s.
Thank you, Uncle Scott.
I still have it.
I didn't have enough doorstops.
Yes, I guess you didn't know me at all.
So
I thought I'd like this.
Let's look at the most extreme right versus the extreme left. The right is not arguing for the federal government to control access to abortion. They're arguing that the states have these rights at this point, at least as far as it relates to Roe v. Wade. And so, even though at the most extreme example, you'd have a heartbeat law. Yeah, you may not agree with it, but I don't think that's crazy extremist. On the left, you have Democrats like former, thank God, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, advocating for, and I'm putting in quotes, but hold on a second. I was going to say infanticide, but hold on, let me just. Infanticide.
The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mothers.
And this is something, and all references are available at louderwithcrowder.com. We'll also have a link to this undercover abortion video that we did a while back, which you can't find on YouTube. This was absolutely shadow banned, so not as many people saw it. It's like 90% of the videos like this that we had done. This is undercover work in Colorado. Here's what abortion looks like there. Meet, we'll call her patient X. She was at this Colorado abortion clinic to kill her 29-week-old potential baby Rose.
How far along are you?
I'm 28.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not very big.
And as we later found out, it was actually worse.
Did you get your ultrasound?
Yeah, I'm further along than the, I don't know if get his big head or what. Like putting me at 32 weeks.
32 weeks. 32 weeks. So let's do the math for people who because this is something they often just say, and I'm going to do this if it sounds like I'm being pedantic. I am certainly pedestrian. A lot of P.
Yes.
Let's go through it. So hopefully you'll remember it because I often throw around terms like 28,
52 weeks in a year.
Yes. So 4 weeks is a month. Let's go by 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So 4 weeks, 1. 8 weeks, 2. 12 weeks, 3. 16 weeks, 4. 20 weeks, 5. 24 weeks, 6. 28 weeks, 7. She thought she was at 7 months, and instead was at 8. I had twins who were delivered at 8.5 weeks. There's no argument that even before we get to 32.
Months.
Oh, sorry. Weeks. Months, yeah.
That would have been weird.
Yeah, that would have been weird.
Yeah. They'd just be finger puppets.
Yeah, exactly. So there is no argument there at viability. And by the way, the viability argument keeps moving up because we have better technology. No one's arguing at this point that that's not a baby at 28 weeks, 7 months. At 32 weeks, 8 months. No one's arguing that. You just saw the governor, former governor of Virginia. He's not arguing it. He's saying, well, if the baby is born, then we'll... Because it doesn't matter. Look, it matters to me. It matters to people who are pro-life. Here's the big difference. To people who are pro-life, and how aggressive are they going to be? Well, they're going to be out there on the sidewalk protesting abortion. It matters to us because 7 months, 8 months is a life.
That should matter if you're pro-choice.
It should, but it doesn't. It doesn't. On the mainstream leftist platform, it doesn't, and it can't. The Democrat Party cannot say that matters. So it matters to us, which is why we focus on what a life is. It doesn't matter to the left because they're fine with abortion up to 7 months, 8 months, 9 months anyway. And so they say, my body, my choice. But is it a life? The question is never answered. And that's what it comes down to. If you can't answer the question, what is a life? If you cannot answer that question, I'm sorry, it's your opinion on abortion is not as valid as somebody who is willing to have some skin in the game and answer that question. You have to be able to answer that question to actually be able to tell me where you stand. Certainly to argue it in the courts. I've never heard Elizabeth Warren. I've never heard Bernie Sanders. I've never heard former Vice President Biden. I've never heard President Kamala Harris define what a life is. Because you won't find it. It doesn't matter. And that's why they have to lie. And by the way, speaking of leaks, because we're going to be talking about this more on Mug Club, it still smells.
It really does, and this is the second day in a row.
It smells terrible.
It's why I grew a mustache.
And my mug is fine, but...
Just to smell something else.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
I tip it in the finest colognes. What? Oh, dude, come on.
It is... Amber Heard, it's a copycat pooping, and this has been going on all week. You know what? Let's get to the bottom of this.
I don't mean to laugh.
It
I just
stinks
thought
in here, man.
It's disgusting.
I know.
That's a crime. That's a crime, Dave.
I just thought the Amber Heard comparison was humorous.
Yeah, but it's a crime, Dave.
It is a crime.
It's not a laughing matter.
No, somebody's been leaking it all over the
Someone's
office.
been pooping angrily, which is what's most disturbing.
There's Roe v. Wade in it everywhere.
Who is doing this?
I'm not doing it. I think. Okay, look. I think I saw Brendan's staying a little late last night.
What? I've had my suspicions. All right, guys. Maximus, send Brendan in. Can we send Brendan in here?
We'll get to the bottom of this.
Let's get Brendan in here. Yeah, we're gonna need to get to the bottom of this. All right. Okay. Here's even Brendan. Obviously, works here. Wonderful editor.
Yes.
Even Brendan.
Good man.
I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you once. Okay. Why are you pooping in our mugs and placing them on our furniture? That's 2 steps. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I can't hear you.
We hear you.
Why are you pooping on our furniture and or mugs?
Where's that happening?
It's right next, Brendan. It's right next. There's crap in the chair right next to you.
Where
okay.
You put it?
Yeah, right there, right next to you.
Let's be honest.
I couldn't have done that.
And why is that?
Because I have a peanut allergy.
It's true.
God, he's right.
He's ruined every field trip we've ever had.
Yep. We're not allowed to have Reese's cups in the office.
And there is a peanut in that piece of shit.
Actually, come to think of it, I think I might have some video evidence of who might be the perpetrator. Tim, could you roll that clip?
Oh, dude, right, yeah.
Perpetrator.
All right, Austin, make sure you get this.
Okay.
Remember the pole?
Yeah.
Well, now I'm going to use this trash can to wall jump to here and then climb up this pole. I've done it in Mario. It'll work.
Wait, sorry, I'm getting a phone call right now. Let me just pick that up.
Well, way to provide non-evidence,
It was
Brendan.
Luna. No, look, he was
Could
walking. You can slow it down. You can, yeah.
Tim, can you go back and reverse and enhance?
Yeah, hold on.
What am I looking at?
All right,
Luna's
here we go.
walking
We're
out of the
going back.
bathroom with a mug.
Rewinding. Oh, wait a minute. You're talking about this.
Yeah, look. Back and to the right.
Dude.
Or to our left.
That's him walking out the bathroom with mugs.
Well, that's circumstantial at best.
Is that triple-fisted?
That's circumstantial at best. You know, okay, we don't have any more time for this. Brendan, okay, fine. You're off the hook for right now. For right now. We're going to have to test it later and feed him a payday
There
bar.
was more
Let's see
than
what
one
happens.
gunner on the grassy knoll.
But you're still fired. All right, you know what? You can take us out. Sorry, we've gone late because I've been transfixed by CNN's non-experts lying to you about the Supreme Court. So we're going to go right now. We're going to go to Mug Club and actually we're going to talk about how Generation Z is a bunch of racists. And also, you know what? Let's just have more of a discussion.
How about humorless as well? Can
Yes.
I toss that in there?
Oh, yeah. I have a story because I went to Starbucks because I ran out of coffee beans this morning. And there was a lady who made a comment about Dave Chappelle where if she were a man, I would have hit her. So we'll talk about this and more about the Supreme Court in a way that we can't talk on YouTube. We love you. And if you're on Rumble, go to Mug Club. But YouTube, you can piss off.